Weekenders with Max, Bobby, and Lexi. Thanks for joining us in week 2 of college football, week 1 of the NFL. Super exciting times for football fans right now because there's so many we had such a great college football week 1, so many things to talk about. So lock in with us today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And let's get into it. Week 2, week 1, and we'll talk about college football first, coming off of a crazy, crazy week. I want everyone here. This should not be hard, but let's give one overreaction to week 1 of college football. Bobby, I know you got one ready.
Look, this sport has never been more volatile or unpredictable, and I gotta say, I love it. Every bit of work I did on previewing this season feels like it just got completely thrown out the window already, and everything I know about the sport is wrong. It's upside down, but I couldn't be happier. I'll eat all the crow in the world about Deion Sanders, about everything I got wrong. I don't even care because I'm just happy that it happened. I love the madness. Fully enjoyed week 1. And I'm excited to see what happens next because, as we know, if you zig too hard one way, go all in on one overreaction, it's going to get course corrected the other way back in ways that we'll never imagine. So, super thrilled to see what happens next. But
that's not an overreaction though. We want your overreaction.
Yeah,
overreact to something. Go ahead, Lexi.
Florida State might just win the national championship this year.
OU Florida State in the Natty. I'm calling it now.
Okay, Bobby's overreaction. Yeah, I think Florida State, man. I think what they did was just absolutely insane. I mean,
They looked like an NFL team.
Yeah.
Like they really did. They looked so poised and good. And I mean, we're all sitting here, why are they so high on Florida State? We all questioned it. We all kind of were like, and now I'm like, all right, I believe.
Well, I mean, when's the last time you saw a Brian Kelly team? Like, we know, a couple years ago, I believe it was 2020 when Notre Dame made the CFP, they got boat raced by Clemson, but that was just, talent. That was, Ian Book, trying his hardest against Trevor Lawrence. No one was really surprised by that. But, Brian Kelly teams, usually don't get, obliterated like that. And that was just, insane for me to see. And you guys know I'm a huge fan of Brian Kelly. I was like, geez, that was, insane to me. I guess,
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter angry Brian Kelly is just a species of its own. So it was interesting.
Just physically whooped too. And you heard it after the game in his press conference. He said running out, I felt it being wrong because he said they ran out and I guess I don't know who we thought we were. I guess we thought we were the 2-time defending champion Georgia Bulldogs or something. And I mean, I tell you, I don't know what LSU thought they had going into that, but they did not come ready for a damn fight, and they got absolutely bullied off the field on Sunday.
That was crazy.
I think my overreaction. I have a 1A and 1B. One overreaction 1A is, the ACC is awesome this year, and this is going to be the year where the ACC is we're the best conference in the sport. We're gonna rule. But in all seriousness, I would say I think this might be the year. Last year with the 14 playoff, this might be the one where as of right now, if we don't see Ohio State or Alabama, and I'm even almost ready to say Georgia, if we don't see those teams in the college football playoff, I won't be surprised. That's my overreaction because I feel like Ohio State, they're going to have to fix their offense if they're going to compete with, some of the tougher teams that they're going to have to face. I need to see more from Alabama and Jalen Milroe. they did some good things, but you have to consider the competition with that. And then Georgia, I think they have a really easy schedule, so they might benefit from that. But I mean, there's a lot of parity, and I think we saw like anything could happen this year. And so again, like if we get to the end of the year and those teams that we've been used to seeing make it to the Final Four every year, the CFP every year, like I said, Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia, like if they're not there, I can't say as of today that I'd be surprised. We know Clemson's going to have a hard time getting there, so
There,
yeah,
that Clemson team, there's so many
Yeah.
issues with them.
Yeah.
I'm astonished. I'm astonished, and I was big on him because I've been talking myself into Garrett Riley this whole time, and then it looks like he just was never there at all.
I mean,
so
to
good
be
job,
fair,
Jabo.
yeah, it looks like he was handcuffed, really. Because I know, and I even saw someone say that it was kind of like Dabo still got control of the offense. And I'm like, listen, I know what it's like when a stubborn coach doesn't want to give up the reins and like we'll let things get in the way. So hopefully he gets it together because it could be a long season if not.
Yeah. Speaking of astonishing, which win we saw a few kind of like unexpected things happen this weekend, but which win was more surprising to you guys? Duke beating Clemson or Colorado beating TCU?
I mean, Duke won 9 games last year, and even though we kind of discounted that last week by looking at their schedule, Colorado won 1 game last season, and that turnaround, that roster flip, unreal. And look, last week I said if Colorado wins this game and makes it close, it shows us that Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter are absolutely amazing players that can carry a team. And hey, look, that's what happened. So, I mean, as a whole, Dion did a great job. Coach Prime did a great job coaching them up. They looked like a very, very, very solid ball club. But man, that star talent there, that's for real.
Yeah, that might have been one of the greatest college football games I've watched of all time. I mean, just like pure talent back and forth, and TCU too. I mean, they put up a hell of a fight, And I know we talked about even how much they lost, but just the way Colorado came out, made that statement. I mean, Travis Hunter, oh my goodness, can you please come to my Lions someday? Like that would be great. But no, that's definitely the most shocking. I mean, I'm a little surprised about Duke, but Colorado blew us away.
Yeah, like I told you guys, like I said last week in the show, and I told you guys before today, like I would have bet every dollar I had that Duke was going to cover. So the Duke win was surprising, but I knew that Duke was a good team. I knew, anybody that was, an ACC fan, watched Riley Leonard last year, you knew what they were capable of. So you had a feeling, and I was kind of like Bobby. I was like, okay, I can see this being a better year for Clemson, but I feel like, this type of game with, time to prepare at your place, Duke is going to give them a hard time. So that win was less surprising, but I will say that Colorado, I mean, like it's like the way they just like withstood like so much. That was a back and forth game, right? And you're talking about a team where you're in a hostile environment. The other team is. It's not like there's like 2 different games. It's like Colorado TCU. Both teams were responding to what the other was doing, and Colorado just made a few more plays at the end of the game, and just like athletically, like talent wise, like they just like I think surprised everyone. Whereas Duke and Clemson was like there was a bunch of mistakes, a lot of errors, and at the end of the day, Clemson just made a few errors too many, and Riley Leonard like was able to protect the ball and make a few plays. So I think the two games were completely different, but I was definitely more surprised by Colorado because I just didn't know what to no one knew what to expect with that team. Um, even if you had, even if you kind of had known like what Stuart Sanders was capable of, what Travis Hunter was capable of, which on some level I was because I watched them at Jackson State, but um, that I think it's fair to question like, okay, how does that translate to the Power Five, and how does a team with so many new players mesh, especially in Week 1? So um, I think you could. For me, the more surprising one was Colorado, but those are two like fascinating games for completely different reasons. um, okay, so this is the week where we also are talking about the NFL in addition to the biggest college games. We've still got 4 games to talk about today, but since we are going to the NFL, we're going to do a stake your claim for the NFL season, and you guys can go back and watch our previews to see who we like for division winners and playoffs and all that stuff. We don't have to rehash all that. Um, but I'm going to ask you guys for your Super Bowl matchup and who you think is going to win. So we'll do that right now. Who's going to the Super Bowl and who will win? Who's your Super Bowl champion this year? I think it's 58. I'm losing count of the Super Bowls.
Yeah.
58 or 59 maybe.
God, this is so early for a prediction, but I've been like kind
It
of
is.
I've been thinking about some things, and I'm kind of set on Eagles Bills right now. And I think that this could be the year the Bills win it all. So we'll run with that for right now.
Yeah, I like it. I like the. This is the. It feels like the year for the Bills. Like everything's sort of like there's so much pressure on them. Everything's sort of hanging by a thread. Like the Bills, if they there's all the pressure's on them to make it. I'll just put it that way.
I gotta say,
Bobby's got something to say.
I was so happy about this take because I had the exact same matchup. I'm like, this is the year Buffalo's gonna do it. Actually, no. I'm like, I think Buffalo makes a run, but unfortunately, in Bills fashion, I think the Eagles take them out in the Super Bowl. I just feel like with Philly, you're not going to have that letdown. I feel like Jalen Hurts is a guy who just wants to work harder, get right back to that level, and I think that's where we get.
Bobby's little pup.
Yeah, the dog wants to give a Super Bowl badge too.
Yeah, well, I mean, but Eagles are so good, and Jalen's definitely gonna have a year. I'm really excited to watch him. I mean, I like to just watch football in general. I know it's the Eagles, but still.
Yeah, I can see the Eagles going back. The NFC is just so hard because there's so many issues with so many other teams. Those are our Super Bowl picks. I've got Lions and the Chargers meeting in the Super Bowl with the Chargers winning. Lexi and Bobby both have the Bills as champions with the Eagles as their matchup. The Eagles losing 2 Super Bowls back-to-back years would be crazy. That'd be insane to watch. But yeah, it should be interesting to see what the year ends up being like in the NFL. All right, back to college football. The first game we're going to talk about today is Nebraska at Colorado, getting the big noon treatment once again. It's so funny because like that Deion was like on that like no one believed in us tour, and like his first game was on like national television. Like it's just like such a funny like take the underdog route when everyone like was watching your game. But anyway, whatever. Big noon kickoff is back in Colorado for this game. Saturday noon, of course. Colorado is now the favorite, minus 3.5. Over under is 58. Nebraska, on the other hand, had a close loss to Minnesota. Didn't really show much offensively. We were hoping to see a little bit more from Jeff Sims, who I know from Georgia Tech really is a dynamic quarterback. When he can be. So the first question for this game, Nebraska Colorado, do you believe? Are you a believer in the Buffs? Bobby, go ahead.
For this one, you know what? Yeah, I am. I do believe, and I am a bigger believer in Colorado's program under Coach Prime and Dion. Um, really, for the time being, he can coach his ass off. He is a very good coach, clearly, and what he's done very impressive. He's facing against he's facing off against a program that really just is also restarting in a very different way. You really could not find a different coach in the world than Matt Rule. That is an absolute opposite. But to me, I think Coach Prime, everything with the momentum they have from that last win against TCU, and then just Nebraska being where they are. I'm gonna ride with the Buffs here. I think it'll be closer than people think. That TCU game, it wasn't a blowout by any measure, and we still have no idea how good TCU is. At the same time, we don't really. I think we kind of know what Nebraska is. I don't think they're awful. I don't think they're great. But I think the Buffs, with a very, very packed, crazy Folsom field, very hated rivalry. I think people forget Colorado and Nebraska. These two sides do not like each other at all. This is a pretty bitter rivalry going back to Big 8, Big 12 days. And I think that place is going to be rocking for Coach Prime's first home game. So I'm going to ride with the Buffs. I'm going to run with Ralphie here.
Yeah, I think the resale ticket
Colorado
prices are up to
-3.5.
400. For the cheapest. So that stadium's going to be full. And suddenly there's all this pressure too for Nebraska and Matt Rule, because you could be 0-2 pretty easily, and that's not where you want to be if you're trying to turn the program around. And Nebraska obviously is a fan base with a lot of expectations, even if they haven't been winning much lately. But Lexi, yeah, what about you? Are you a believer in prime time and the Buffs?
Yeah, I'm gonna say I want to see them do it again. However, I think they're gonna beat Nebraska. I mean that Nebraska had another heartbreaking loss last week, and then they watched the Colorado game and were like, "Oh shit," So I believe in Dion. I just want the defense to not give up so many points going forward. Hold Nebraska, which shouldn't be too hard for them, considering there's still a lot of questions on Nebraska's team right now. But yeah, I had Nebraska originally winning this game. I'm not gonna lie. And then I watched week 1, and now I'm all Colorado at 3.5.
I think the interesting thing is we were saying when we did the preview with Colorado, when we talked about last week, reasonable expectations, we were saying, all right, going over the 3.5 win total would be an accomplishment. For me, and I think we all agreed about this too, but being bowl eligible, was the big okay, wow, you've really done a great job. So now after week 1, it seems like being bowl eligible is the floor for this team now. So we got to see them do it for another week, and then for Nebraska, it's all right. You go down 0-2 after this week. You hope they're bowl eligible this year, because that's going to be you're gonna have to answer a lot of questions if you're Matt Rule. One thing that's kind of been talked about a lot is Travis Hunter. He played cornerback and receiver. He did it at Jackson State. Did it again, obviously, in the TCU game. Played over 100-something snaps, well over 100 snaps. It's interesting because I think the big question is it going to be sustainable? One thing that I saw Dion, or heard Dion say in an interview this week, is that the practice schedule for Travis is different than everyone else. He doesn't he told for this week, Travis Hunter won't practice until Wednesday, going into the game, and Dion is yeah, I know he'll be ready. So maybe if on that type of regiment, you only practice you have a day off that everyone else doesn't have, and I guess they'll manage it every week. Maybe it's sustainable, but that's a tall task to ask, especially when you're going to be playing some really good quarterbacks in the Pac-12, playing cornerback and receiver. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys think he'll be able to do it all year?
Not at that capacity.
No, I don't. Unfortunately, no, not at that capacity, and not on a week-to-week basis. Like by the time by the time it gets to like November, he's going to be completely gassed. I don't see. Obviously, easy to do it. Game one, week one,
Mhm.
but those snaps start to build on you.
Yeah.
And Colorado needs him for every single one of those snaps, no question. And that's kind of the thing here is I don't know how sustainable this style of play is for this season. Give Coach Prime some time to get guys in, fill out that roster a bit more. But at the end of the day, right now, like Travis Hunter, I do not know how you can do that in major college football, week in, week out. No, definitely not sustainable, but I'd love to see him try. It's certainly he's the most exciting player I've seen all season. It's only been 1 week, but still. Most exciting player I've seen in a while. The concept of a two-way guy playing that much, I love it. And if he can, I'm all about it because this guy is so exciting for college football, and I'm eating it up. But
Well, and especially with their schedule. Like, let's not forget, they've got one of the most difficult schedules, I think, in college, of all of college football this year. So it's like going against these tough, gritty teams all season. He's going to get beat up a lot. And, I think at one point they're going to have to decide what's going to be more important for him to play. But like Bobby said, I'm all for it as long as he can do it. But I just don't want him to get himself hurt or kind of lose out on anything just because he's killing himself on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I think for some games, you're gonna want to be like, hey, like Travis, like just go out there and play corner. Like I think for like Oregon, USC, you're playing Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, like just play corner. Like that's where we need you the most. Like don't worry about playing receiver. Like we need you to stop. These great quarterbacks. And so yeah, I feel like for some of these games, um, yeah, he can play both sides for the Arizona teams, and Stanford. But when you're on the other side of some of these great quarterbacks, you're gonna have to face, like I said, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, Cam Rising possibly at the end of the year. Um, the kid at UCLA looks pretty good. Dante Moore, uh, DJU at Oregon State. Like you want a shutdown corner to be on the field for those types of games, and then hopefully the with what we saw against TCU at least, like they got a really good running back, and Shador can make things happen as well. So you can rely on the rest of the receiving core, and then the athleticism from the quarterback and your great running back instead of making him have to play both sides for the whole year. All right, let's talk about the keys to victory for both teams. We're all taking Colorado. I'm not ready to do Colorado minus 3.5, so I just said Colorado. I guess Colorado money line. I know you guys have Colorado minus 3.5. I'm not ready to go that far yet. I need to again see what they are for another week. But yeah, keys to victory for both teams. Whoever wants to go, you pick whichever team you want.
I can go with the Huskers here. I kind of think defensively, overall, they need to drag Colorado down into the mud and make it a sloppy, messy Nebraska football game. Last week, that was Big Ten football, what we saw with Minnesota, Nebraska. Not a lot of scoring. And as we saw with, the two games could not be any different. So they have to make Shedeur Sanders really work, really grind it out. Nebraska, they refer to their defense as the black shirts. And there's been a question around Nebraska people of whether or not these people are worthy of that nickname or not. If they want to stop Colorado and beat them, they're going to have to be worthy of that during Saturday's game, because we saw a remarkable performance from Shedeur Sanders, and they're gonna have to really muck it up, slow it down, and turn this thing into
that's what I was saying
a food fight.
earlier when I was talking to someone about this, that it's going to have to be just like make them win in the trenches, because that's how Big Ten football is. It's just gritty, on the ground, smash mouth football. Make them play that, and that's going to be Nebraska's best chance. And also, if Travis Hunter is playing defense, don't throw his way, because I feel like TCU kept doing that last week, and you're like, stop throwing to the guy that's just owning you right now. Oh my gosh! So whatever you got to do,
stop throwing to
the other guy.
Stop throwing to the 5-star.
Right. And then for Colorado, it's just keeping the momentum. They've got some serious talent. That quarterback is just amazing. I'm excited to watch him. So just keeping up the confidence that they've had going into this season, I think is going to take them a long way. So just being who they've already claimed they are and keep that up.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with both of you guys. Like I said, I got Colorado. I mean, I think Shedeur is fantastic. I think they're going to have so much confidence, especially at home. It's going to be a tough road for Nebraska. I don't think that I think Nebraska can go in and make it a tough game, but and I will say this for Nebraska, like I mentioned before, Jeff Sims is like a dual threat type guy. So at least the guy in practice this week, you're practicing against, if you're the Nebraska defense, you're practicing against a quarterback that can replicate some of the things that Shedeur Sanders can do. So I think that should help a little bit. But we all pick Colorado. I think there's no more we have to really say. I think it's going to be a long day for Nebraska. All right, let's move on to the second college game we're going to talk about in our lineup, and this is a 7 p.m. game. Texas, Alabama, rematch of last year. Alabama is favored by 7.5. One of the most interesting games of the season. Definitely, obviously, one of the biggest games of week 2. That's why we are talking about it right now. So I guess my first question is, last year the story of the game was all right, if Quinn Ewers doesn't get injured in the second quarter or whatever it was, he looked like he was in control of the game, and they were gonna win it if he was under center the entire game. He was really impressive, maybe the most impressive we've ever seen him. So with that in mind, what adjustments do you think, or what adjustments do you expect Alabama to make so that Quinn Ewers doesn't shred them again this year?
Well, I mean, right off the bat, Alabama just needs to not turn over the ball or commit penalties in any way, because I know they had a lot of that. I think they had 10, 11 penalties last year in the game. And they also gave up over 300 yards, and Quinn Ewers got hurt. So Alabama's got to control Quinn, control themselves to be able to win this game. But, I think it's with Texas.
You got to force yours into mistakes. We've seen him in the past outside of that Alabama game and the Oklahoma game. He'll underthrow guys and just not look great. If they can really put the pressure on him, but also play a disciplined football game. That was one of the hallmarks of Alabama last year, is they were such an uncharacteristically non-Nick Saban team that was constantly making mistakes, offsides, false starts, that just killed the drives. I think this will be an Alabama team that feels a little bit disrespected across the board, especially going into this game. A lot of people are riding big on the Longhorns here. I think they come ready to go and look as sharp as we've seen them in a while. And I'm a pretty big fan of Jalen Milroe. I think he's a pretty solid quarterback. So I think Alabama goes in, controls the game, and that's my thoughts on what the Tide can do to kind of slow down yours. Is force them to make mistakes.
It's funny how you say Alabama should feel disrespected. They're favored by 7.5, which is I'm if anybody Texas should feel disrespected. I mean, like you lost to them at one point. I believe it was last year, and now you're. I mean, it's in Tuscaloosa, so you understand. But 7.5, that's a big, favorite. Um, yeah,
It's
yeah,
more of a macro situation, Entering the season, people have been kind of writing them off. That's really more what I was getting at, rather than this game in particular. But you definitely are seeing a lot of hot take
yeah,
artists.
yeah,
It's
for
not even
sure.
that hot. Picking Texas out.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about like keys to victory for both teams. I think that um, like Texas, or at least the reports were saying, or Steve Sarkisian was quoted as saying that they didn't show a lot against Rice, right? So the crazy thing is, like, we don't really know. We won't know like what they're capable of offensively 100% until um, we see this game, because they're just trying not to show too much there. So I think the point was what made Bobby, that if you're Alabama, you're trying to do everything to take to make Quinn Ewers be uncomfortable and make a lot of mistakes, and you're trying not to make so many mistakes yourself. Which Alabama, I feel like over the last few years, Alabama has struggled with not shooting themselves in the foot on the road, but at home they should feel comfortable. And Texas is gonna have to do everything they can do to stop. Um, that they're not Alabama's dynamic quarterback, Jalen Milroe. I still want to see more from him. Like, as a passer, I know he can make things happen um, in the run game. So this is where, like, we're gonna see, okay, how good is this kid, like, really from both standpoints. But I think the keys for both teams is just make the opposing quarterback uncomfortable, and don't commit penalties and don't make mistakes. Like, that's really as simple. That's really that simple uh, for both sides to me.
Yeah, I'm excited for this game.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. Lexi and I have Texas plus 7.5. Um, Lexi, tell me why you think Texas is going to cover.
You know, I think that you're getting this next year of Quinn, who's more well-rounded, even a better mindset than he was in last year. And they should have won last year. I'm kind of on that train. Like, if he didn't get hurt, they would have won. So yes, that was an uncharacteristic Nick Saban team, but I just think that I know it's say, like, I'm not saying Texas is totally back, but Quinn Ewers is something special, and I think that doesn't get hurt this game, it's going to show Alabama exactly how good he is and what he is able to do. So I've got Texas.
Well, here's the other thing too. Like, if things get dicey in this game, like, Bryce Young ain't walking through that door, like, and not to take anything away from Milroe. But, like, again, like, he might be great too. We don't really know yet, but Bryce Young saved them, like, so much over the last couple of years, when their games were so close and they, looked so uncharacteristically, like, lackluster. Like, Bryce Young would just make a play, and number nine's not there anymore. So, I mean, we're gonna see this year kind of like what happens when they're playing against some tougher competition. Um, I'll say for me, and I'll let Bobby go. Like, I think I'm not ready to say Texas will win the game. I'm more comfortable with a cover, especially 7.5. Like, it could easily be Alabama wins by a touchdown, but like 7.5 is like a weird number to me. So I think it's easy. Like, from a betting perspective, it's an easy cover. And yeah, I just think Texas, like, uh, again, I think Texas. There's something that for me in the game last year was more than just Quinn Ewers, being special, which he was. But I think we might have seen, like, a glimpse of Sarkeesian, like, kind of being able to say, like, all right, I know what's going to work against this defense. And so I think for me, this is going to be a coaching battle more than quarterback or anything like that. And I think Texas can do enough to keep it close, especially with, like you said, Lexi, a more mature Quinn Ewers. He's, like you said, grown up mentally. Um, we'll see what happens throughout the year, but you know, hopefully he's learned to be more careful with the football and his decision making. So for me, that's kind of why I feel pretty good about Texas covering the 7.5. But I feel like Alabama is going to win the game. That's just where I land. Go ahead, Bobby.
That's fair, and I feel like that cover is fair. That'll be that, especially that half point. Whew, I don't feel good about it. Spoiler alert, that's not my lock of the week. That makes me a little nervous. I think it'll be a pretty solid game, but to me, I just feel like Alabama last year probably overlooked Texas a little bit. This year's different. We hadn't really seen what Quinn Ewers could do last year. We know a little bit more now. There's a lot more tape on it. Alabama is going to expect Texas's best shot. I don't think they're going to be sleeping on them. And not only that, but the environment is different when you're playing in front of 100,000 of the other guys instead of 100,000 of your guys. That obviously does something. So Texas being, at Alabama here, I think is going to definitely have a bit of an impact. So to me, I just feel like usually when you have a matchup and then you see the kind of the inverse. I don't know. I feel like Alabama is just more equipped to adapt, handle those changes, and I think they're just going to be the better, more well-rounded team entering this game. I think it's going to be a really, really good one, a really good litmus test of where Texas is. They have a really good O-line. I feel like both ends of the trenches have been bolstered for them with recruiting, but Alabama, that's a pretty big measuring stick right there. And if you look at both OU and Texas' schedules, specifically Texas here, they're not going to really. You're not really even going to see that in Red River that much. It's improved, but it's not Alabama. So, it's going to be really interesting for me and for a lot of Texas fans to really see where Texas is as they enter the SEC next year. Because Alabama, Georgia, those are the two programs on which everyone's measured, really across the country. So, I think Alabama just too deep, too experienced. I think they run it back. I think they improve a lot of things. And I think they make a
this is a
statement
litmus
that,
test game for
they're not going away
sure for
just
both
yet.
teams. And I if I guess the top 5, or I think they're top 3 in the AP poll, the newest one. I mean, it's warranted, but I guess. But if you're like on the fence like me, then and Alabama dominates this game, then you're like, okay, yeah, this is a top 4 or 5 team. But if they struggle or if they lose, then they're gonna kind of be like saying like, okay, yeah, like proving people right, like yeah, like they're not. This is not the Bryce Young days or Matt Jones or Tua days or whatever. Like they're gonna need. This is like they're gonna be not. I don't. They're not. I feel like they're not gonna be Clemson. Like they're gonna be better than that. But like top this top 5, top 4, like benefit of the doubt they're getting is gonna end if they lose to Texas for sure. And watch out for the Texas hype if Texas does win, because that's going to be out of control. That's going to be out of control.
Dude, believe me, man.
Oh, gosh. Okay. All right. So, yeah. That's that game. Me and Lexi, Texas plus 7.5. And Bobby's got Alabama minus 7.5. Lexi, do you have Texas winning too, or just covering?
I have them winning.
Okay. All right. We'll see. Now, let's get to our next game. The NFL. First game of the NFL season. The Detroit Lions at the Kansas City Chiefs. To open the NFL season. We have some big news about this game, and that's that Travis Kelce is looks like maybe limited or doubtful to play because of hyperextended knee. The last thing that I read on that was that it looks like um, that he avoided a serious injury, but the Chiefs have to decide whether to let him sit out this game and possibly the next game to have him for the season, or whether to play him. In a 17 game season, I don't think you necessarily risk uh, Travis Kelsey for this. As as we got Bobby doing some sign language with the corgi, but no, you're good. You're good.
Yeah,
You're good.
yeah. My
You're
wife
good.
let the dog back in. We had
But
to
yeah,
redirect her out.
Yeah, so Lions Chiefs, Travis Kelsey may not play. That's going to be a big impact on the game because the Chiefs don't have like a spectacular receiving core, um, and we know how impactful Travis Kelsey is. So with that in mind, um, we have that situation, and if that situation wasn't bad enough, we also have to give you guys an update on Chris Jones and his contract situation because Chris Jones is a holdout as well. There's just like a weird like defensive player holdout situation going on across the NFL. We got Chris Jones hasn't got his contract yet. Nick Bosa on the Niners and Brian Burns on my Panthers, like all waiting on contracts, all impactful players in the defensive line. But for the purposes of this game, no Chris Jones, no Travis Kelsey. Could be interesting. Could be interesting for a team in the Lions that you know is looking to show everyone that last year was not a fluke and beating a Chiefs team at Arrowhead, on the day where it's supposed to be a celebration of the defending Super Bowl champions. That could be a big statement in the NFL. So, Lexi, I'll let you take it away. Um, how are the Lions going to win this game?
Yeah, well, first of all, I hope Travis Kelsey gets better soon. You hate to see that. He's one of the greatest players. So that being said, though, if he isn't, obviously it's going to be for the Lions to capitalize on that. The keys to beating Kansas City is trying to limit Patrick Mahomes in any type of way that you can. This defense is going to need takeaways. They're going to need that secondary's got to be poised. That front seven, they've got to pressure Pat Mahomes all game long. They've got to play the best game. And I mean, maybe it might be the best game of the season. I mean, you hope not, but like you have to play that way, especially against the Super Bowl champs, especially against Patrick Mahomes. So, and just controlling the ball on offense as well. Jared Goff's going to be very important in that. So you can't give anything up to these guys, and you got to capitalize on everything that you can to beat them. So Lions got a good challenge coming, but nothing that they can't do.
Yeah, I feel like. Well, first of all, really bummed about Travis.
Oh,
Kelsey.
you didn't know about it
First year
until
I drafted
right now?
in my fantasy league. He gets hurt because
No, I mean like the news.
Oh no, I
Is that
drafted
why
him
your
like a
face
month
was-
ago, and no, the news just the news just happened today. But I've had him drafted for a while. That Kelsey's, yeah, I've had him for a while. I'm like, oh, this is the year. I feel that it gets hurt. So Travis, I'm sorry for putting a pox upon your health, and that's clearly my fault. But anyways, I'm pretty big on the Lions. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not just trying to be nice. I feel like the Super Bowl, coronation night hangover is a very, very real thing. Thursday night. Last time we saw the Lions, they were as hungry as the team you could get that actually didn't make the playoffs. I kind of think we have that carry over. And to me, I just get this vibe, this feeling that Kansas City, at least game one, is going to be just kind of happy, rested on their laurels, in a celebratory mood. The worst team, the last team you want to see walk through that door is a team like the Lions, who is trying to take that leap, who's trying to scrap up. And I think I think Detroit kind of has him here. I know we're not in prediction mode yet, but
Love to hear it.
I'm kind of about it.
Yeah, I mean, sorry. The Chiefs going into this game without their two best players in Kelsey and Chris Jones, like that's huge for both sides of the ball. Because the Lions, like, they have the potential to be so dynamic with Gibbs, with the receivers. When Jared Goff is taking care of the ball, like this is a tough offense. So now you arguably the best defensive player in football, like you're missing that. Like it's going to be a huge blow. And then with the Travis Kelce situation, the thing about Kansas City is their receiving core is just like really a big question mark. Like Patrick Mahomes is the spoon that makes the whole thing work and makes the whole thing stir. But like, Travis Kelce is such a good security blanket for him. He is so reliable, does everything correctly. So now it's like, all right, how do you run that offense, especially this injury happening 2 days before kickoff? So I think like we all have the Lions covering the 6.5. I think without the injury, I still think the Lions cover because I just believe in them as like a well balanced team. But I think like for me now with this injury news, and now that you don't expect the Chiefs to necessarily trot Kelsey out there for this game, like I mean, I don't know about winning. I'm not going to go that far, but I think a Lions plus 6.5 is the easiest bet possibly of the weekend. So, I mean, to me, you just got to have it's just too many distractions. Like, the Lions are going to be amped up too. Like, I don't know. I like Detroit.
Yeah. For what it's worth, I feel like they'll swoop in and get this stuff figured out with Chris Jones, like right before the game. I'm not counting him to be out. Like that's still in the back of my mind. Like I think they'll pull through, and same thing with Kelsey. But I think even if he does play, he'll still be limited. So in a way, it's like got to capitalize. So
yeah, I think that those both things should be true. Yeah, I don't know. The Chiefs have like all the good energy. They're going to be pumped to go. I can see an argument for both sides. I feel like I feel like the Lions though, like I like this is just like not even analysis, but I just like the vibes. I like the vibes that the Lions are going into for this year, and it's like, all right, we're not going to get like I'm not in the locker rooms or anything like that, but it's like as a team, you have to believe that you're not just going to go out to Kansas City and go on national TV and be embarrassed. Like I think they're going to come to play. It reminds me even of a couple of years ago when the Buccaneers opened their season against Dallas, and that Dallas team was I can't remember if they made the playoffs the year before or not. I want to say they didn't. I think it was the year after Dak got hurt, but they played the Buccaneers so tough. And everyone was like, okay, yeah, this Dallas team is a little bit more talented than we think. So I could see similar things happening. But, yeah, we all got Lions covering 6.5. Or unless you just have Lions winning outright.
Yeah, I'm scared of this.
Yeah.
I just want to win. I don't care if it's by a point.
Yeah. Got you. Well, we'll see. All right. Final game in our 4-game slot for this episode. The Bills going a few miles south to New York City, or I guess New Jersey, technically, to face the Jets on Monday Night Football. Favored by 2.5 are the Bills, going to Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. More pressure this season, not this game, but the season? Josh Allen or Aaron Rodgers?
I think it's same.
It's got to be Josh Allen. It's got to be Josh Allen. I mean, Buffalo is the ultimate franchise that has been waiting for a title. Like nobody can compare Buffalo to anybody else. Going back to the '90s when they made all of those Super Bowls in consecutive order and kept losing them, and now they have this new burst of hope, this new hope, and it keeps falling short. Buffalo has to get it figured out, not just in the regular season, but in the postseason. They can't lay another egg like they did to end last year. So across the board, they just got to be. They've got to be the best team in the AFC. They've got to be on that level. Super Bowl. I'll say this: Super Bowl or bust, just in terms of them making it. I don't. I know the Jets have a different level of stress every year. Same with the Giants, but it's different. They just started this thing, you know. So to me, I think Buffalo, just with what has happened, it kind of, when you keep winning and keep building and just never get it done, it just drags on your shoulders and weighs you down. And for Buffalo, they have to at least get some AFC hardware in order to
Well, and I mean, I
feel
think
a
with
little bit good
Rodgers
about
too,
yourself.
he's kind of like in the situation where if things go great, great, but if things go kind of mediocre, it's like, okay, well, it's the first year they're together, Whereas like Josh Allen's been in this team, has been leading this team, has kind of fallen short, and it's like, all right, you really got to get this together. So I agree that Josh definitely has more pressure on him.
Yeah, this is hard for me because Rodgers just has to be better than he was like last year. Like last year was arguably the worst season of his career, and so I think he has to prove that he's not going down like the Russell Wilson train and that he's still Aaron Rodgers. And if he does that, great. But if he does not play well, like it's gonna be like, all right, this dude is like copying Brett Favre's career to a T. Like he's going to the Jets and it's not working out. Like this is too weird. And the Jets fan base is like dying for something this year. I mean, you've got the receiving core, you've got the great young corner, you've got the defensive line. Like if you're Aaron Rodgers and you chose the situation, basically like there's no excuses. So I feel like for the season, I probably have to say more pressures on him. I think for Buffalo, I think if Josh Allen plays well, then there's more pressure on the organization. I think Josh is going to be fine. I think if he doesn't play well or whatever, like yeah, people are going to be pointing the finger at him. But I think if he plays well and he doesn't have the team success, then you have to say, okay, organizationally, like why haven't you put more weapons around him other than Stephon Diggs? Why haven't? Why hasn't like what happened with Leslie Frazier? Like what like I feel like the Bills organization has more questions than and more pressure than Josh Allen, and I feel like the Jets have done everything that Aaron Rodgers has asked of them, and if he doesn't play well, then we're gonna be like, all right, what's up with you? Like, like you know what I'm saying? I think there's a difference. I think the Buffalo Bills have more team like things they need to accomplish, and with Aaron, it's like, are you more of what we saw 2 years ago when you won the MVP, or last year when you were like just like slumping it, every week and you're on the Pat McAfee show and like barely, showing up. So I felt like more pressure's on A Rod. Um, all right, keys to victory for the Jets, Bobby.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie. I haven't really. I've been so wrapped up in college football. Monday feels like a billion years away. Um, I'll, you know, for the Jets, I feel like it just if you have that comfortability, just be comfortable. You know, maybe not try to put all of the stress on you in game one. You know, it's Buffalo. It's a big game. You're probably going to lose this one. It's a hard start for you. Like, really having, you know, like, if you lose to Buffalo, it's not the end of the world. So go out and just try to manage the game, play it simple, and just cut loose. I know that's like the worst analysis of all time, but frankly, that's kind of what they need to do. It's a lot of bright lights, and you got to ignore all of it and just try to play the best ball you can. And I think it'll actually, you know, they were a good team last year. They're well coached. If they just execute, keep it simple. Don't let the bad stuff, don't let the pressure get to you. I think they can be pretty solid. That is the most like youth football coach speak ever, but it's week one of the NFL, and as everyone who's listening to this, if you're a longtime Weekenders listener, you know that I'm you know all the way deep in college football right now. I honestly forgot Aaron Rodgers was a person.
I think you're right though.
Until
like,
we started
just,
talking.
Like
Yeah,
letting it
just keep it
loose
simple.
is, I feel like, what Aaron Rodgers was known for. And then like last year was like every week felt like a drag. Like it felt like, is this dude gonna retire? Like does he hate football? Does he hate his team? Does he hate the weather in Green Bay? Like what's up with this guy? So I feel like him playing more free, and him just like having fun out there, you know, win or lose, like honestly, I think that's going to go a long way for the Jets this year because there is a lot of expectations, and I feel like from everything we've seen, like I don't know if you guys have watched Hard Knocks or anything, but like from the Hard Knocks episodes, like it seems like a lot of the team really looks up to Aaron Rodgers as like I don't want to say father role because it's kind of weird, but like just like the elder statesman, like they respect him, they are looking at him to be a teacher. He seems to be really, really like into the mentor role. Like he's helping along like the young receivers and the defensive players and the coaches and Zach Wilson. Like Aaron Rodgers is really like sinking his teeth into this new role he has. So 100%, Bobby. Like you're on track. Like I think if they go out there and have fun, and just focus on like, you know, not making mistakes, playing good football, and being physical and just doing what they got to do at home. You're in front of your home crowd, Monday Night Football. Like, just go there and have a good time. I think that's a great like way to look at it.
Yeah, I've heard way worse analysis about football, so you're good. So yeah, I mean, for the Jets, you're right though. Just kind of going in there with Aaron Rodgers, his confidence alone is what's going to get him through this new venture as the Jets quarterback. But even you describing like Hard Knocks, that's exactly why I can't watch it because I wanted to vomit. Anyways, I think though that even for the Bills though, it's going to be just that Josh Allen, you know, Diggs connection that really needs to heat up. You know, you got Von Miller's back from injury. So that's going to be good in that secondary, but yeah, I mean, I think that Josh Allen just needs to be poised, needs to just do what he does best. I know that he has a lot of respect for Aaron Rodgers. They have a pretty good relationship, so it's going to be kind of interesting to see how, you know, he says he bases a lot of his game off. I read an article that a lot about Aaron Rodgers, so we'll see how it is. I think they faced like one time before this or two times before this. So it'll be interesting, but it's really just controlling the turnovers on both sides of the ball, or whoever does that the best is going to win this game.
Yeah. I think the Bills just have to be more balanced. The Bills are going to have to be more balanced. They've always struggled with like establishing a run game. I think the Jets, like defense, like the secondary is way too good for you to like expect to throw the ball a lot. So I thought they're gonna have to establish a run game. The offensive line's gonna have to win a lot of reps, and they're gonna have to find creative ways to get Stephon Diggs open and get him the ball because Garrett, I'm not Garrett Wilson, excuse me, Sauce is on the other side, and I would say getting the tight ends involved as well. They've still got still have Dawson Knox. I know they just drafted the tight end. They still have Dawson Knox. Yeah.
They do still.
Yeah.
They still.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they also do have Dalton Kincaid
Yeah.
from Utah. So they arguably have like the best tight end duo that I think people.
Yeah, we talked
really
a lot about
impressed
him during the draft episodes. Like,
Dalton Kincaid.
yeah, I think the utilizing the tight ends, Knox, Kincaid, finding creative ways to get Diggs open, like that's going to be the key, and for the Bills offense, and to be just again run the ball, be more balanced. Don't try to use Josh Allen as the running back every time. Like this defensive line is too good. Like be more creative offensively. Predictions. I like the Jets. Home opener. I feel like the Bills again. Like there's pressure, but they're on the road. Like, is anyone going to really blame them for losing this game? Probably not, especially if it's close. So, I like the Jets to win, and I think that this is going to be a good team. The Jets are going to be a good team this year. Lexi, you got the Bills.
I do.
And Bobby's got the Bills -2.5.
Yeah, I think they start hot, make a statement.
All right.
I think they go on a really, really good run this year.
Starting hot, which, on that note, we did not do last week for Lock of the Week. This is, for those unfamiliar, Lock of the Week is our weekly, literally what it is. We lock one pick each week. It can be a game, like straight up or money line or over under or cover, whichever you want to do. Introducing again, we got some new rules for Lock of the Week. If you're a longtime Weekenders watcher, we changed the rules for this year just a little bit. So instead of doing standings, we're just doing it on a point system. So for a correct pick from the games that we talk about on the show, if you win the pick, you get 2 points. Now you can pick a lock from a game that we didn't talk about because there's lots of them, obviously, and you can get 1 point. And then if you get an incorrect lock, of course, you had no point. So last week, I had Clemson winning straight up or Clemson money line. Obviously, they lost to Duke, which was very, very sad to watch. Actually, it was really enjoyable to watch. I enjoyed it. As a North Carolina fan, I thoroughly enjoyed Clemson losing to Duke. But it didn't feel good to root for Duke, and it also messed up my lock. So we had that happen. Bobby had TCU winning straight up. Obviously, again, did not happen with Colorado winning that game. And then poor Lexi had TCU Colorado under, and that
who would have saw that? Okay, who would have saw it?
I think the overhit in at halftime, like
when they double. I think it was like almost Hey, no one saw Colorado going off that much. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I know. It was like halftime. I'm like,
yeah, no, that was unfortunate.
All right. All right. Lock of the week this week. I literally just changed my lock of the week for this week on the dog. But here we go. I'll start. I'm gonna go off. I'm gonna go off the game. I'm just gonna try to get a point here. Try to be safe. Not gonna be a hero this week. I'm taking the Panthers plus 3.5 against the Falcons. That's my lock of the week. I think the Falcons are very, 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 very overrated this year. I've seen a lot of people like frame the Falcons as if like rookie running back Bijan Robinson is going to carry them to like a playoff season, which I have never seen a rookie running back lead an NFL team to the playoffs that didn't already have a decent to above average quarterback. And quite honestly, we don't know how good Desmond Ridder is. I think there are more signs that he is not good than good. I think the Falcons' defense is okay. They got Calais Campbell. I'm not convinced that they're all the way there yet. And so for this game in particular, Brian Burns being on the field is important, and I think the Panthers are going to get that done. But even if they don't, I like our chances of being able to stop the run, slow down Bijan Robinson. And even if he goes off, like, I just like our secondary against Desmond Ridder. Like, Desmond Ridder, like, doesn't really scare me at all. If the Falcons win the game, like, great. But 3.5, like, again, that half point, like, the Falcons can win by, like, a field goal or whatever. But, like, I think it's at 3.5 against me. I think the Panthers could cover that. I think the Panthers could win outright, but I won't pick that. I'll just say the Panthers covered the 3.5 points. I think the Falcons are way underrated. Way overrated. I think Bryce Young is going to have a good game. I think our offensive line is improved. We played some really good defensive lines in the preseason, so I think people are overreacting to that a little bit. I think, I'm not really afraid of Drake London, especially if J.C. Horn's going to cover him. Not really afraid of Desmond Ridder. I think the Panthers cover the 3.5 spread against the Falcons. So I will take the attempt at 1 point after having 0 coming off of last week. All right, Bobby, what's your lock of the week?
I was tempted to lock in Texas money line to just curse them into oblivion because, as we know, locks never go right. But I'm going to actually try. It felt like it would backfire against me. So I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills -2.5. I think Monday Night Football, they just are a better, more gelled team. After the disappointment of last year, they're going to be fired up, ready to go. And I think 2.5 to me. I think I feel like people naturally kind of overrate the New York teams, the big market teams like that. I think people are a little bit too high on the Jets.
All right, to capitalize
so
on what you're
Bills,
saying, when the Bills going to be
2.5.
going all out, my lock is the Bills-Jets being over 46.5. You know, you got all the weapons that the Jets have with now Aaron Rodgers, who's Hall of Fame quarterback, and then you got Josh Allen, who does Josh Allen things, and we'll get those stats on the board for you. So I think that it's going to be easily over 46.5.
Yeah, to me, that's the lock. That's like the best lock of the week. Like I was going to pick that, and then I saw you write it down, and I was like, "Freak! Like I can't do this."
That's why you got to fill it out before you give us the document, Max.
I write the document, and I always fill it out like last. It was just crazy, but but no. Yeah, I wanted that one really badly, but that's a good lock. I think they're going to score a lot of points in that game. I'm surprised the line is 46.5. Like,
I'm shocked too.
Really
I might just go throw some money.
That's kind of a low over under for that game. But all right, those are our locks. I got the Panthers +3.5. Bobby's got the Bills -2.5. Lexi's got the Bills and Jets over 46.5. That's the locks. That's the show. Shout out Multiplicity Media. Go watch all the other shows on the channel. Like and subscribe. And keep watching us. We'll be back next week with more games, more analysis of football, NFL, and college. And until next time, peace.
Bye.